The green cracker does not emit any pollutants. The percentage might be less by 20% or 30%. It's not a clean cracker. It just happens to be slightly better than ordinary crackers. So all of these are big questions in the minds of Delhiites because this is a recurring feature. There is data, there is science to show that pollution does go up for a variety of reasons: stubble burning, construction, road dust. But bursting firecrackers at this time of the year during Diwali season also contributes in a not so substantial way to the increase of AQI. So why are we fighting the science? Firecrackers were banned initially in November of 2020. This was through the National Green Tribunal, which of course is overseen by the Supreme Court of India. What has changed in these last 5 years? Today, while delivering the judgment, Chief Justice B.R. Gavai said that firecrackers smuggled in from outside Delhi NCR during Diwali actually cause more damage than green crackers. He also said that the court is to take a balanced approach, permitting green crackers in moderation, while at the same time not compromising with the environment. Let's listen into some political reactions that have come in, and then we'll get to a breakdown of what a green cracker is and why this may or may not actually work on the ground.
मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ माननीय कोर्ट का, जिन्होंने करोड़ों लोगों की भावनाओं का ध्यान रखते हुए इस महापर्व दिवाली के मौके पे जो हमारा एक पारंपरिक भावनाओं से जुड़े हुए पटाखे थे उनको सम्मान दिया। दिल्ली सरकार के निवेदन पे आपने ये अनुग्रह स्वीकार किया और हम भी ये समझते हैं परंपरा और पर्यावरण दोनों को जोड़ते हुए हम दिल्ली का ध्यान रखें।
Now, I want to give you a breakdown of how green crackers are different from conventional crackers, whether in terms of composition, the actual pollution that they cause, and also safety for the end user. Now, traditional crackers are made using sulfur, nitrates, aluminum powder, and barium compounds. Green crackers, on the other side, are a slightly more eco-friendly alternative. It's developed by the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. It uses nitrogen-based compounds. It reduces the aluminum and sulfur part and uses eco-safe oxidizers to try and minimize the pollution. It's not like the pollution goes away. It comes down by about 20 or 30%, but it is relatively better than traditional crackers. Traditional firecrackers also comprise of chemicals that produce bright lights and loud sounds, also release harmful gases into the atmosphere, as well as particulate matter, PM10 and PM2.5. Green crackers, on the other hand, try and eliminate some of the ingredients that produce heavy ash content when it's burned. Conventional crackers also cause high levels of PM2.5 and PM10. That leads to smog, it leads to respiratory issues. Green crackers emit slightly reduced particulate matter. They too emit particulate matter, both PM10 and PM2.5, but the proportion is less compared to traditional crackers. There is about a roughly 20 to 30% reduction in particulate emission when green crackers are used. Green crackers are also designed to stay within 125 decibels, which is as per the guidelines of the Central Pollution Control Board, as opposed to traditional ones that can go all the way up to 160 decibels, violating the noise pollution norms. But here's the critical question which needs to be asked. Will this help or will this compound the existing air pollution crisis in the national capital? Here is what Delhi looked like this morning. This is as of this morning. This is about 7 a.m. in the morning. Already, the AQI was in the poor category. This is 4 or 5 days before Diwali. It is already in the poor category because of a combination of factors: construction, road dust, stubble burning, which has slowly begun in Punjab, and of course the trapped air, which can be released either only through rain or through winds, both of which have not been there in the national capital over the last week or so. So the question that needs to be asked is, why are we contributing to this even further with crackers in the run-up to and on Diwali? My colleague Anshul Singh with this report.
Over the last few weeks, the AQI in the national capital has remained in the poor category, which has ensured that GRAP 1 measures would now be implemented out here in the national capital, which means that polluting sources such as dust pollution that comes out from construction sites, they will have to take extra care of those dust and make sure that water is continuously sprinkled on them so that the dust pollution does not happen. Apart from this, the manual sweeping of roads have also been shut off, and now only mechanical sweeping of roads can be done. But it is yet again that time when the people of Delhi will now have to run from pillar to post to just get a gasp of fresh air. the AQI over the next few days is likely to deteriorate, and like every season, this season as well, the AQI will remain in the very poor category is what is predicted at this point in time.
All right, I want to go for a quick political face-off on this. RP Singh is national spokesperson of the BJP, Somnath Bharti, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. RP Singh, the data is there. I mean, the science is there. I can take you through it. Over the last few years, in 2024, in last Diwali, for example, Diwali was on 31st October. The day before Diwali was 307. On the day of Diwali, 328. On the day after Diwali, 339. In 2023, the day before Diwali was 279. The day after Diwali was 358. I mean, the science is there. You know, you can argue about how much it contributes, but the fact that firecrackers contribute to pollution is an undeniable scientific fact. Now we're going to increase that with green crackers being allowed by the Supreme Court.
Zakka, good evening, and good evening to Somnath Bharti ji also. There can be no face-off on this. There has to be everyone has to come together. We all are Delhiite and we are all citizens of Delhi, and we all suffer because of pollution, and we've been suffering it for many years now. I appreciate that all parties should come together and then work together to ensure that pollution is taken care. Now coming to your AQI data, which you said 307, 328, 339, is just the 10% of the overall pollution level which was there. So it means Diwali contributed only 10%. The 300, I mean, rest of the 90% was because of other reasons in Delhi. And the reasons are well known. I mean, stubble burning is a major reason. The industrial pollution, the vehicular pollution, and the dust is the another reason behind this. But let's understand and break this. For 10% pollution less, can we throttle the celebration of the festival, the cultural festival of the country? And also, if now the green crackers have been permitted, I mean, as per your data again, almost 30% pollution will be taken care. It means put together, it will be only 6 to 7% pollution which will increase. I mean, if I just go with the data, although Delhiite will approach whole of this issue with great sensibility, and they will not go all out and ensure that there are limits and there are checks and balances.
Okay.
And also, and give me a second, also that Delhi governments are also thinking of many other options to ensure that it's taken care. I have little information, which I'm not very sure, but still what information I have is that immediately after Diwali, there is already a idea of doing the cloud seeding also, so that it can lower down the pollution which increased because of the green cracker. That's been taken care. It was a long pending demand of our government when Mr. Kejriwal was ruling. Now, since we are in government, so government has already done the test trial of this now, and now it has to be implemented.
Okay, so you are saying that the day after Diwali, depending on how much pollution there is the possibility that cloud seeding will be done.
There is a very fair chance. There is a very fair chance
to reduce the pollution. Okay, Somnath Bharti, so the contention of the BJP is, what were you doing? For 10 years, Aam Aadmi Party was in power. Everybody knows stubble burning is a significant contributor. You have done nothing. It still continues.
See, it's easier said and done. But then, while I welcome Supreme Court decision, but at the same time, we all need to worry about the pollution. And let me remind Honorable colleague RP Singh ji that in 2018, it was NGT which had banned normal crackers and allowed green crackers, followed by Supreme Court which had upheld the decision of NGT. But then, since BJP controlled police could not sort of enforce the Supreme Court imposed conditions. That is why NGT revisited the decision. And in 2020, NGT banned even green crackers. So the problem is enforcement. So is Delhi police capable of enforcing the decision of Supreme Court that 2 hours morning, 2 hours evening allowed, and you can only sell green crackers? You were very right while you pointed out, it's not that green cracker will not emit pollution at all. It will emit pollution, but 25% lesser. But then who will control? Delhi police has not been able to manage public smoking, which was banned by Supreme Court. Delhi police has not been able to manage sale of spurious liquor. Delhi police has not been able to manage crime in Delhi. So will this time, because BJP has got 4 engines in place, Will this time Delhi police will be able to ban
RP Singh
crackers
ji,
in the manner
you know, the court's
Supreme
order
Court has
today,
imposed?
the court's order today, by the way, also talks about, you know, mandatory QR codes on firecrackers, designated sale outlets, surprise checks, no sale on e-commerce sites, etc. What will you do to enforce this on the ground? How will you ensure illegal crackers are not sold and all crackers that are sold are green crackers? I mean, in the market, no one quite even knows what is the difference between a green cracker and a normal cracker. They just put a green stamp on it saying it's a green cracker. How are you going to enforce this?
Well, Zakka, on day before Diwali and on Diwali day, I'll appreciate, send your team with me and I'll take them around and show them how it is being enforced. Delhi government administration and the police put together to ensure that this happens. When you have intention, you get the things going out. So not like you buy a smoked out for 22 crore rupees and waste Delhi exchequer taxpayers' money on smoked out which never work. Or I remember that decomposer which was bought for some 26 lakh rupees and some 60 odd crore rupees was spent on replacement of that decomposer. So, and we'll take care of Parali. Once we come in the government in Punjab, we'll take care of Parali and nothing happened on that agenda as such. I mean, that we don't know where did the decomposer go and what happened of the Parali burning. I mean, still the Parali is being burnt, the stubble is still being burnt in Punjab, and major contributor for pollution in Delhi is stubble burning only. We all know that.
No, so Somnath Bharti, you made this promise about, you know, controlling stubble burning. I don't think any political party in Punjab is going to ask the farmers to stop or at least implement the same thing that you said. No, Somnath Bharti, the same thing that you said about, you know, Delhi police not implementing the ban on the ground in Delhi. The same can be said of the Punjab government and the Punjab police. There is by law, there is a fine and jail term if farmers are caught, burning stubble. But nothing happens.
Let me just remind you and my dear friend RP Singh Saab and through you the entire nation that Punjab government under the leadership of Bhagwant Mann Saab, we have now reduced stubble burning almost to 1/10. Okay, from 600 instances it has come down to 50-60. Second thing, we have also allocated 500 crore budget to ensure that farmers are not seen. They're not to be disturbed or punished. They're to be trained. They need to be brought into the understanding that we need to do it. We need to implement technology. We need to do the way government is asking us.
No, sir. But so, what happened to this weed cutter machine, this decomposer machine?
Yeah.
None of these seem to be working.
So it's already mid October now. You can see the Google images, and you will not find stubble burning happening at all in Punjab. But I want to ask my dear friend, what is happening with the winter action plan? The government is not even out. Government is not even discussing. So winter action plan is nowhere in the sight.
Okay.
So that's the whole problem.
RP Singh Saab, where is the winter action plan? I also want to come back to, will the BJP commit to a public dashboard of what the AQI is and also a public dashboard of how many confiscations, how many illegal cracker kiosks you have shut down? And may I ask, we used to have at one point of time an environmental cess. I think it was 2% or 2.5%. Why don't you impose an environmental cess on every packet of cracker that is sold? That's within your jurisdiction.
Zakka, good idea, and I'll appreciate people in Delhi government must be watching this program and they will take up your ideas and also putting a dashboard. But coming to the stubble burning thing, do you know how clever they are? They have made farmers learn that you have to stubble burn. You have to burn stubble with the movement of the satellite. That's how they do the games. They play the games there, and this is on record. This is not me saying. These are videos on record. There are TV, YouTube people who have put this on record. There are people from various TV channels who have put this on record. That they play smart games, and that from their side. That Punjab there is no stubble burning. Fact is, when the satellite movement happens, when the satellites move to the other end, then they burn the stubble. But this is how they play the games with the environment, and then this is how they teach these farmers of the Punjab.
No, but whatever might be happening in Punjab, RP Singh Saab, the question also is, and there is data to show this, right? There's a study called Chemical Speciation and Source Appropriation of Ambient PM 2.5 in Delhi before, during and after Diwali fireworks, which has shown that there's a 16x time increase in pollution in the month, from the month leading up to Diwali to the month post-Diwali. 16x, 16 times. Something needs to be done about that.
Not because of crackers. Again, Zakka, I'm again reiterating, it's not because of crackers. Merely, I mean, you just now, whatever you said, I'm trying to analyze that only. When as per your data and as per your analysis, it's not more than 6% of the complete pollution level which happens in Delhi. So give me a second. It's majorly is because of stubble burning, and it has already started. They have already shifted the timing of the stubble burning, keeping you the satellite movement. And this is bad. I mean, they are playing with the farmers also. They are playing with the Delhiites also.
Mr. Bharti, when AAP was not in power in Punjab, you were like, oh, Punjab. That's where the bulk of the fires are coming from. Now you are in power in that state for the last 3 years plus. Why are you not able to put a halt on it? And again, the decomposer machine, the weed cutter machine, where is all this gone?
I've given you figures. I'm saying with all responsibility that from 600 instances, we have come down to 5 to 66 instances a month. So what is happening? What is happening now across Punjab, the government is so conscious of its duties that we are spending 500 crores a year to train our farmers to ensure that the stubble burning doesn't take place.
Sir, this year the reason why the stubble burning has not started yet is because there were excessive floods in Punjab through much of August and September. So the whole sowing season itself has been delayed as a result. We'll have the same conversation in 1 month's time. Well, Delhi will be completely polluted because of the stubble burning.
No, but then what you're saying, see, we have to have data and you have to have proof with you to accuse us of anything. So what I'm saying, data as of today is not giving you any proof whatsoever to support your allegation that Punjab government is not stopping stubble burning.
My response was only because you said it's come down to 56 a month. The reason why it's come down this month is because the sowing season has been delayed because of the rains. Because of the rains.
Because of the investment of the Punjab government to train our farmers.
Okay.
Using various techniques.
There is, by the way, a fine and a jail term for stubble burning, farmers caught in stubble burning. I want to see the numbers at the end of the season, how many of them are actually fined and put in jail for stubble burning.
You should appreciate that there should not be any stubble burning and this should come down further. You should not wait for jails, our farmers to be jailed.
We'll have both of you.
We will don't do stubble burning as per the satellite movement.
We'll have both of you in a month's time or maybe 2 weeks' time after Diwali, and we'll have the same conversation on pollution in Delhi. Thank you very much, R.P. Singh.
I'll ask R.P. Singh Saab to please implement measures immediately, the winter action plan.
आप शरारत करना बंद कर दीजिए, वहाँ पर स्टबल बर्निंग की जेन्युइन फिगर्स आने दीजिए, सैटेलाइट को जेन्युइनली कैच करने दीजिए, फार्मर्स को चीटिंग करना मत सिखाइए, वो उनकी सेहत के लिए भी अच्छा नहीं, देश की सेहत के लिए भी अच्छा नहीं.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, R.P. Singh, and to Somnath Bharti for joining us. We will keep an eye out and we will do a daily tracker of the pollution numbers, the AQI numbers in Delhi, both in the run-up to and post-Diwali, and we'll see whether or not the Supreme Court has actually done a good thing or a bad thing by allowing green crackers. Now let's shift focus to the south, where Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh have been squabbling for a while now as they compete with each other amidst crumbling infrastructure and investment opportunities. There was a big announcement yesterday. Google has decided to go to Andhra Pradesh and, the tilt there, the investment decision of 15 billion over 5 years to build one of the largest AI data centers in the world. That now has prompted a sharp response from Karnataka, and specifically from the IT Minister in Karnataka, Priyank Kharge, who says that there were reportedly offers of 22,000 crores in subsidies and other freebies, including tax breaks and utilities waivers that has been given to Google, which is why they've decided to go to Vizag, Visakhapatnam, instead of Bengaluru. Now, his counterpart from Andhra Pradesh, Nara Lokesh, who's the IT Minister there, he's hit right back saying if those cities or those states, in this case Bangalore and Karnataka, are inefficient and the government there is inefficient, then what can he do? Now, making matters worse for the Congress government in Karnataka are comments from some of the top corporate honchos in Bangalore, like Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, Mohandas Pai. They've been at the case of the government, saying whether it's the garbage problem, the pothole problem, it is simply got to a stage where it is unmanageable and the government really needs to get its act together. This is what Ms. Shaw, Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, posted on X, on Twitter, that an overseas business visitor had come to visit her at the Biocon Park earlier this week, and that person was shocked by the poor condition of Bengaluru's roads and garbage. She also went on to question whether the government actually and truly supports investment. The response that she got was from, whether it was from the IT and BT minister, the deputy chief minister, almost all of it was, the message was the same, that they are ending up shooting the messenger and not actually tackling the problem. Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar said that Bangalore has given opportunities and identity and success to millions, including Kiran Shaw, and it deserves collective effort, not constant criticism. She's not targeting any one government, but calling for urgent action. In fact, Majumdar Shaw had remarked in her original post that she had just come back from China and cannot understand why India cannot get its act together, particularly when the winds are so favorable. To which DKS has said that 1,100 crores have been sanctioned for road repairs, 10,000 plus potholes have been identified, and over 5,000 of them have already been fixed. Instead of tearing Bangalore down, let's build it up together. Let's listen into some political reactions.
If they are inefficient, what can I do? If their own industrialists are saying that the infrastructure is bad, there's severe power cuts, and they themselves are saying that, then they should first focus on attending to those problems rather than taking on me on Twitter.
I don't want, let them do whatever they want, let them market, let them do whatever, let central government also help. But there is no match to Bangalore in this entire country.
The spat between Bicon Chief Kiran Majumdar-Shaw and Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar has continued for the second day. On X, you had Kiran Majumdar-Shaw coming out and saying that she hopes that the present-day government sees this as an opportunity to fix issues, while pointing out that the city has landed in this position because successive governments have failed to do their bit for the city. She's also spoken against Santosh Lad, the minister who initially yesterday came out and asked if Kiran Majumdar-Shaw would speak on similar lines against the union government and the Modi government, and he said industrialists in the city and in the country were scared, and that's why nobody speaks about Modi government, and it's only in Karnataka, he claimed, that there is space for dissent, there is democracy, and that's why the state government gets questioned and criticized by industrialists. We've seen Kiran Majumdar-Shaw coming out and asking Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar and Chief Minister Siddaramaiah to ensure that everyone responsible for this is punished, and the city's infrastructure can be fixed as soon as possible so that global businesses coming here get global level infrastructure.
Not just about criticism or the crumbling infrastructure or that industrialists are putting this out there in the public domain or the image of Bangalore is going to the dogs. It's about real business and investment, which seems to be moving away now from Bengaluru. The Garden City has been losing out recently. Remember, Visakhapatnam has struck a massive deal with Google for this massive data AI center, $15 billion over the next 5 years, and that has reignited this whole battle of Andhra versus Karnataka. It used to be the case when S.M. Krishna was Chief Minister and Chandrababu Naidu was Chief Minister in the late 90s and early 2000s. Now it's been revived yet again. Nara Lokesh, the IT Minister of Andhra Pradesh, was asked about Bangalore losing out, and he quipped, if they are inefficient, then what can I do? Their own industrialists are saying that infrastructure is bad, there are power cuts. They should fix those issues first. They should fix their problems. On the other hand, the IT Minister of Bangalore, the IT Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Priyank Kharge, says there are questions on Andhra offering, he claims, up to 20,000 crores in subsidies and discounted land and water, tariffs, free power, etc., and full GST reimbursement to Google. That's why they've gone to Andhra Pradesh, and not because the infrastructure in Vizag is better than the infrastructure in Bangalore. He also says there are concerns about the sustainability of such massive concessions. Let's listen into my colleague Aneri, who's reporting from Hyderabad, because this is not just a Bangalore versus Vizag problem. If Google's investment is gone, and such massive investment is gone for forward-looking technology that will dominate the IT space for the next 10, 15, 20 years, and if it's gone to a new city, this is something that should concern policymakers in Hyderabad, it should concern policymakers in Chennai, in Cochin, all of those cities which have become the IT hubs in the last few years, in the last few decades. Let's listen in to the view from Hyderabad.
War of words between Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka erupts yet again, and this comes just a day after Andhra Pradesh government announced its strategic investment with Google to establish India's first AI hub in Visakhapatnam with an investment of 15 billion in the next 5 years. And now, hitting back at Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh IT Minister Nara Lokesh has stated that if they are inefficient, then what can I do? They should first focus on fixing what their investors have been asking for, and also at the same time they should focus on fixing the pothole-ridden roads, long power cuts and other issues in the state, whereas he also stated that he is not here for a Twitter pat or a political slugfest with anyone, but he is here to attract the investors for the state of Andhra Pradesh. Well, massive war of words have been erupting between Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka time and again over companies relocating, and also how the investors in Karnataka have been complaining about bad road conditions and also various other civic issues in the state of Karnataka, and that is the time when Nara Lokesh have been pitching them to relocate to Andhra Pradesh. Well, now yet again we see that Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka is between a war of words over the investments.
All right, I want to go across to Harish Bijur, a brand guru and founder of Harish Bijur Incorporated, and of course a very prominent Bangalorean. You know, the potholes and the crumbling infrastructure, the traffic, we've been talking about it ad nauseum for God knows 20 years now, Harish, but now it's having a material consequence, and the consequence is big investments, big ticket investments are going away from Bangalore.
Yes, Zakka. I think, as far as the infrastructure issues of Bengaluru are concerned, this has been a serious issue. And year on year, after every monsoon, we tend to focus on it, and n numbers of debates happen. And then it's back again, once again. It's sleep, eat, pray, and again, repeat. So if you look at the issue today, I think, it's come to a point of time when the population of the city has grown dramatically, and the infrastructure is just unable to manage. And, things are hitting the road. People are feeling the pain, and that's why people discuss it. And I think the governments, which have been successive sets of governments from across, literally every party that has governed us for the last 15 years, each one of them has not been able to address the issue. So I think now we are looking forward, because we have a very, very, savvy chief minister, Mr. Siddaramaiah, and we have an equally savvy deputy chief minister, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, a very energetic persona. And I think these issues need to be sorted.
No, but why then are we getting the impression, and I'll come back to this whole question of, there is now very real threat, as has happened in the case of Google. That's a massive investment, 15 billion over 5 years.
Oh, yes.
It's lost it to Andhra Pradesh. Why should, any big industry, any IT company come and invest, any AI company come and invest in Bangalore when the leading lights of industry in Bangalore are complaining about just, how rotten the city has gotten?
The leading lights of the city are complaining about stuff fundamentally because the issues exist. And I think the issues need to be sorted. Now, if companies don't come to Bengaluru, and I'm going to throw a googly on this one, okay? I think Bengaluru cannot afford more industry coming into Bengaluru at this point of time. We're talking about a city which has 145 lakh people on any single day, another 55 lakh people coming into the city every single day. That's literally 200 lakhs of people. The population to the vehicular ratio is 0.82, which simply means to say that literally everyone has a car. And that is the serious issue. Now, can we afford for more industry to come into Karnataka?
No, but Harish, the flip side of that...
I think we need to be worried.
The flip side of that is, IT, as we know it, could be obsolete 5 years from now. AI could take over everything that, programmers and coders are doing. So the fear and the real danger is that the next revolution, of course, Bangalore has been a beneficiary of the IT revolution for the last 20 years, 30 years. The next revolution, Bangalore could lose out.
Well, I'll put it this way. The ecosystem of Bengaluru, particularly the IT ecosystem, I mean, what started with medical transcription of the voice at a point of time, then data, and then moving into KPO, and then moving into IT end-to-end services, then moving into higher-end stuff. Today, we are talking about AI, cutting-edge and bleeding-edge stuff. We're a constantly evolving city. So what I'm saying is there is a certain bandwidth that has been established for the city, and I think the city can manage only that. If at all we need to expand outside of Bengaluru, not within Bengaluru.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Harish Bijur, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see how this plays out between these two states. It's a competition that happened in the 90s and 2000s as well between then United Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka, between S.M. Krishna and Chandrababu Naidu. We'll see how this plays out in this new generation. A controversy, meanwhile, has erupted at the St. Rita's public school in Kochi after an 8th grade Muslim student insisted on wearing hijab inside the school and was subsequently denied entry. In fact, the matter has escalated to such an extent, the school went on to file a police complaint seeking protection from the Kerala High Court. In fact, the school ended up declaring a 2-day holiday on Monday and Tuesday as protests erupted inside and outside the school. The school stood firm on its stand. It's a minority institution, it's a private institution, it has nothing to do with the government. The students' parents finally accepted the uniform policy. In fact, they had accepted it at the time of admission, and then subsequently, just a few days ago, they had raised this issue. And then finally, yesterday, the child's father agreed. After some intervention, the child's father agreed that he will allow his child to go to school without wearing a hijab and following the uniform policy of the school. But even as it seemed to get better, the state government and the education minister intervened and said the child should be let in with the hijab. So, based on the complaint that was filed by the student's father, the Ernakulam Deputy Director of Education conducted an investigation and found out that there had been serious lapses on the part of the school, but the principal refuted these claims. First, that the child was expelled, which was wrong. They say that it's not true. The Kerala government report then says that the school violated the right to education. Again, the school insists that all other Muslim students have been following their policies. The government told the school to relent and allow hijab in the classroom. The school says all the kids in an institution such as theirs are same. We're in a secular country and therefore the same rules apply to every student.
Ernakulam Pallurthi St. Rita's Public School ശിരോവസ്ത്രം ധരിച്ചതിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ 8ാം ക്ലാസ് വിദ്യാർത്ഥിനിയെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ കയറ്റാതെ പുറത്തു നിർത്തിയ സംഭവത്തിൽ പരാതി ലഭിച്ചതിൻ്റെ അടിസ്ഥാനത്തിൽ സർക്കാർ ഇടപെട്ടു. വിദ്യാർത്ഥിനിയുടെ പിതാവ് നൽകിയ പരാതിയുടെ അടിസ്ഥാനത്തിൽ എറണാകുളം വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ ഉപ ഡയറക്ടർ അന്വേഷണം നടത്തുകയും സ്കൂൾ അധികൃതരുടെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്ന് ഗുരുതരമായ വീഴ്ച സംഭവിച്ചതായി കണ്ടെത്തുകയും ചെയ്തു. വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ ഉപ ഡയറക്ടറുടെ അന്വേഷണ റിപ്പോർട്ട് പ്രകാരം വിദ്യാർത്ഥിനിയെ ശിരോവസ്ത്രം ധരിച്ചതിൻ്റെ പേരിൽ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നിന്ന് പുറത്താക്കിയത് ഗുരുതരമായ കൃത്യവിലോപവും വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ അവകാശ നിയമത്തിൻ്റെ ലംഘനവുമാണ്.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We're learning that Supreme Court has begun pronouncing its judgment on the green cracker row. Do remember, we've seen clearly a divide on green crackers, a mix of anticipation, anxiety that's gripped Delhi. Supreme Court hinting that it may allow the sale of green crackers in the city just a week before Diwali, and that pronunciation has begun of the judgment. We're learning that the CGI said we've considered the submissions by Solicitor General and we have to take a balanced approach. Those are the first few comments that are coming in from CGI Gavai. The court is delivering its verdict. Many residents, remember, welcome the prospects of fireworks returning to the skies. They've called it an essential part of festive celebrations. There is another section, like I said, that's expressed concerns that weak enforcement could once again pave the way for regular, more polluting and noisier crackers, and it will turn the city into a gas chamber and a boombox. Now, do remember, this also coincides very interestingly with the AQI picking up. The AQI in parts of the National Capital Region has crossed 200 and above. And that's a concern that National Capital Region residents are currently staring at. Comes this judgment by the Supreme Court? The verdict is being pronounced as we speak. The verdict essentially is around green crackers and whether they can be sold during Diwali festivities in the national capital. The CGI makes the first few observations. CGI Gavai says we have to take a balanced approach. We've considered the submissions by the Solicitor General. Now, there are green activists who are also speaking or who've broken their silence on this. The permission, if at all, is granted by the tone and tenor of the CGI. This is going to bring back the bursting of crackers within the legal ambit for Diwali, for perhaps other festivals like Gurpurab and Christmas as well. And this is going to happen after 5 long years. Green firecrackers, remember, bring that entire debate back to what it means for air pollution and how how limited is really the consequence of this? They're designed to emit 20 to 30% less particulate matter than conventional ones, but the concerns still come with green crackers. And now we're learning in the latest bit of breaking news update that's just come in that the Supreme Court has allowed temporary sale of these crackers. The CGI has referred to the order of October 14, 2024, where Delhi government imposed a complete ban on firecrackers, which was expanded to entire NCR. And this is big news coming in from the Supreme Court. Speaking of how the need of the hour is a balanced approach, Supreme Court allowing temporary sale of crackers, referring to the previous order of 14th October 2024, where the Delhi government had imposed complete ban on firecrackers, which was then extended to the entire national capital region. Bursting firecrackers, though, only permitted from the 18th to the 21st. So just the few days in and around Diwali is when we're going to see this development in the national capital region. It comes with a disclaimer: bursting firecrackers only allowed from the 18th to the 21st. Do remember, a lot of people celebrate.
The fragile Gaza ceasefire faces severe challenges as Israel continues airstrikes, killing Palestinians. It's also put aid restrictions, as well as said that the Rafah crossing, which is the only southern crossing from Gaza into Egypt, will remain shut. Hamas has returned some of the bodies of the slain hostages. There are delays, there is a blame game going on. Tensions are rising on both sides. So the big question is, will this truce hold? And is this the beginning of the end of the 2-year-long Gaza war, or will it only restart in a matter of time? I dig a little deeper as to what is going on after the momentous events that we saw earlier this week with President Trump in Israel and then in Egypt. The ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza continues to hold despite repeated violations. Israel killed at least 9 Palestinians in northern Gaza as the Israeli military warned Gazan residents to stay away from the areas where the IDF is still occupying. Israel has once again failed to open the critical Rafah crossing in the south. That's the only border point with Egypt, as was stipulated in the ceasefire agreement. It's also notified the United Nations it would reduce the amount of aid to be allowed into Gaza by half, up to 300 trucks per day. On the other hand, Hamas handed over the bodies of 8 slain hostages to Israel via the Red Cross, while Israel complained that the Palestinian terrorist group is moving too slowly with the 20 other corpses that they have to return. As part of the deal, Hamas was to release the dead bodies of 28 hostages and also release the 20 remaining who were still alive. While they've done the latter, they're currently dragging their feet on the former. But the basic outline of the ceasefire agreement had been on the table for many months now. By accepting it now, both sides, Israel and Hamas, have given up on some of their key demands. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had vowed to destroy Hamas completely, and yet, after 2 years of the war, Hamas is still the strongest player in Gaza today. Hamas, on the other hand, wanted a complete Israeli withdrawal and guarantees that Israel would not resume any military operations, both of which currently are unfulfilled. Israel is very much present in Gaza and it is unlikely to ever fully leave. So why did both sides agree to the ceasefire and why did it happen now? And the most important question, will this tenuous truce hold?
This is not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Hamas had held on to the hostages as a form of leverage. Hamas seized the hostages when it attacked on October 7th because it knew that Israel would make major concessions to get the hostages back. In fact, if you were to look at historic precedent, back in 2011, Israel released more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners in exchange for one soldier, Gilad Shalit, who was captured by Hamas. Hamas leaders were worried that giving up all the hostages would simply free up Israel to become even more aggressive in Gaza. And yet the hostages increasingly seemed like a slender thread that Hamas was clinging onto. Although their fate preoccupies many Israelis, this concern did not restrain Israel's military operations. In fact, Israel consistently prioritized killing Hamas, even if it endangered the hostages. In fact, the recent push that Israel was making deeper and deeper into Gaza City was the latest indication that the risk to the hostages was not a constraint on the IDF. With the American deal, Hamas can at least use the hostages to claim a form of victory, forcing Israel to withdraw, and in the process, gaining the release of up to close to 2,000 imprisoned Palestinians. Hamas, on the other hand, has been battered by 2 years of fighting the Israeli war machine. Israel has killed many of Hamas's senior leaders, including Yahya Sinwar, who is the man who orchestrated the October 7th attack. It's also killed Hamas leaders Khalid Mashal and Ismail Haniyeh. Back in January, Israel claimed it had killed up to 20,000 Hamas fighters.
وقد تسلمنا ضمانات من الإخوة الوسطاء ومن الإدارة الأمريكية مؤكدين جميعا أن الحرب انتهت بشكل تام وسنواصل العمل مع القوى الوطنية والإسلامية استكمالا باقي الخطوات والعمل على تحقيق مصالح شعبنا الفلسطيني وتقرير مصيره بنفسه وإنجاز حقوقه إلى حين إقامة دولته المستقلة وعاصمتها القدس.
Few Palestinians have escaped without any losses. In fact, the death toll in Gaza surpassed 67,000 last week. Gaza has been completely reduced to rubble. Palestinians there have long wanted this war to end. They've been on the verge of starvation and lacking medical care. They've been constantly displaced by Israeli military operations. So each additional day of this war prolonging was only agony for the ordinary Gazans. Now they're hoping that food and medicine can come back into Gaza and rebuilding will begin soon. Israelis too have been exhausted by 2 years of this grinding war. There have been constant call-ups of reserves to the army. This has been straining Israeli families as well as the country's economy. In fact, Israel lost up to 500 soldiers, a number that is substantially higher if you were to compare the previous Gaza wars. In a recent poll, 2/3 of Israelis said they want an end to this war and they want a ceasefire and they want the hostages to come back. Both sides also faced considerable international pressure. In July, the Arab League called on Hamas to disarm and end its rule in Gaza. For the first time, they also explicitly condemned the October 7th attack. On the other side, European states have been repeatedly calling for a ceasefire, and Canada, France, and Britain formally recognized a Palestinian state at the UNGA last month. But Israel could not ignore pressure from Donald Trump and from the White House. The US president is politically strong when it comes to Israel. If instead of Trump, Joe Biden had pushed Netanyahu for a deal and Netanyahu had resisted, almost all the Republicans and maybe even some Democrats would have sided with Israel. But when Trump does that, most Democrats agree with him and Trump can carry his own Republican Party with him. Trump also personalizes politics. It's very transactional. And Netanyahu was worried that if he snubs President Trump, then he will neither forgive nor forget.
Donald Trump is the greatest friend that the state of Israel has ever had in the White House.
Trump was furious when Israel attacked Qatar, a close partner of the United States and a country that has been actively wooing the president with luxury gifts like a personalized 747 Boeing jetliner. By promising Qatar American protection, the United States was enabling Qatar to serve as a refuge for Hamas leaders who might have been on Israel's target. Trump even made Netanyahu publicly apologize to the Qatari leader when Netanyahu visited the White House. For Netanyahu, the increase in American pressure, especially after the Doha strike, meant that this was decision time. In addition to the general exhaustion and the lack of public support to try and continue the war, he wanted a deal that would bring the hostages back home. Netanyahu's own coalition is also fraying. He was under immense pressure from his far-right coalition partners. Defying Trump in an increasingly unpopular war was both politically and strategically risky for Netanyahu. Also, most Israelis recognize the importance of strong ties with America. Netanyahu, mind you, is also a master of politics. As Israel enters election season very soon, elections are to be held early next year, Netanyahu can now position himself as the man who shattered Hamas and Hezbollah. He's the one who set back Iran's nuclear program. The current deal between Israel and Hamas is a major accomplishment. It's an important step forward for Gaza as well as for Israel. But making this ceasefire last, making this peace last, is going to be even harder than achieving it. So we had pretty historic scenes a couple of days ago in Israel first, in Jerusalem, where Donald Trump landed, addressed the Israeli parliament. We had the historic scenes of the 20 remaining alive hostages being returned to their families, to the embrace of their families. They've been through hell and back in these last 2 years. And then we had the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. So the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, will it hold? We're already seeing some fraying at the edges, some killings that have already happened, some tank shelling that's going on in northern Gaza. Will it hold? What are the conditions for it to hold? What about India's role? Prime Minister Modi was one of the first to welcome this ceasefire, also congratulated Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump, spoke to both of them in the aftermath of the ceasefire deal being agreed. We're joined by a very special guest here in our studios. Ambassador Reuven Azar is the ambassador of Israel to India. Thank you very much for joining us here on News 18. First of all, congratulations. It is a big, momentous occasion. We saw those pictures from a couple of days ago. The whole world was watching, President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the address to the Knesset, and of course, who can forget the hostages coming back to their families. How do you feel?
Well, it's a moment of joy. It seems like for many Israelis, I think for all Israelis, it's like a huge rock, that was taken out of our heart. To see the scenes of the living hostages coming back, the families that have suffered for so long, and the sense of responsibility we had to see each and every one of them back home. That gives a lot of relief, but it's not done. We are waiting for the murdered hostages to come back. Hamas, they committed to do it in 72 hours. They didn't do it. We want to give this ceasefire a chance, Zakka. We want to give peace a chance. I think this is a rare moment that we are having in our region in which there is international consensus on a path forward. That is very, very clear. It's not yet, detailed because the second stage is not there, it's not designed yet, but there are principles, and these principles are very important. We need to have Hamas renouncing power. We need to have a responsible government coming. We need to have an international role of not just assisting, but also supervising. We are looking forward for that to happen so we can go back to our lives. We have no interest of staying in the Gaza Strip. But right now, what we're seeing, as you said, there are some hiccups here. Yeah. We've seen atrocious murders of Palestinians by Hamas. Yeah. It's very, difficult to look at that, how they are murdering their own people. There have been some attempts to, penetrate areas which Israel is still in control. But largely speaking, the ceasefire is holding. And we have great hope that with international pressure on Hamas, especially pressure from the Arab countries and Muslim nations, that Hamas actually will keep its word and actually give back our murdered hostages and implement the 20-point plan.
But the accusation is also on the Israeli side, saying that Israel is indulged in some tank fire and some shelling, and some 9 people have been killed in northern Gaza. Also, going back on the commitments for humanitarian aid, I think you've reduced the number of trucks that can be allowed into Gaza. So how do you respond to that?
It's a matter of keeping commitments. Mm-hmm. When the conditions of the ceasefire are breached, we are going to respond. So we have been very clear where the line goes, and those who have been able to penetrate, we've been trying in different means to keep them out. When they continue doing that and our forces feel threatened, they had to return fire. We hope that these incidents can be prevented. We are not interested in breaching the ceasefire. The same goes to the commitment on the humanitarian assistance. The Hamas organization has to release the murder hostages. If they don't, we won't be able to implement our side. So we've been now limiting the number of lorries. We have said that Rafah crossing point won't be open until the commitments are met. They were supposed to release all of them. within 72 hours. They didn't do it.
So out of the 28, how many have been returned?
Well, we still have 21 that haven't returned.
So
they released 4. They
Okay.
then released another batch of 4. Out of them, only 3 were hostages. So we are still waiting for that to continue, and we hope it continues.
But the second phase is the more difficult one, and Hamas has already walked back on, the commitment to give up arms or the commitment to not have any role in a future Gaza. So what makes you hopeful that this ceasefire will stick?
Well, it's not a surprise. Hamas has been playing these tricks time and again. It's a matter of showing resolve. Not only by us, but also by all the partners that were part of this deal. And I'm talking about the Arab countries, the mediators. They have ways of putting pressure on Hamas. And if they successfully do that, we can see a path forward. The alternative is very bad. We don't want to go back to the alternative. We've been there for the last 2 years.
But it's also true that Israel itself has been, at least majority public in Israel, and I was there a few months ago, they're tired of this war. They are exhausted of this war, and they wanted this war to end and for the hostages to be brought back home. So, going back to the war doesn't seem like an option, at least from a public point of view.
Look, it's not an option unless we have a situation in which there is a danger that Hamas will rearm and regroup and do the 7th of October again. We don't want that to happen. So although we are tired, and although people want to go back to normalcy, Israel won't compromise on its security. And that's very clear. And we have said that, and even the American president said that only a few hours ago.
Yeah. We'll disarm Hamas if it came down to that. I also want to ask you about India. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. The last time we spoke, you said you want India to be involved in the rehabilitation and the reconstruction of Gaza. Is there anything more that you can give us in terms of what role you would want India to play there? Is there any specific areas or sectors you're talking about?
No, at this point, I think I detailed the last time that we are talking here about an increasing role of India because of its growing interest in the Middle East, because of its engagement, both in terms of infrastructure, companies coming to our region, coming to Israel, workforce. There are different aspects that we can contemplate. This is going to be discussed between the leaders. They had a telephone conversation between them. We're going to have more engagements in the highest level, hopefully in the coming weeks, and then we'll see.
Is Prime Minister Netanyahu due for an India visit? He is due for an India visit. Is there anything being talked about?
Well, nothing specific at this point. We hope to get news about this soon.
You hope to get news about this soon. We hope to get news about it as well. But as I come to the concluding sort of part of our interview, this has been an extremely difficult 2 years for ordinary Israelis, as indeed it has been for ordinary Palestinians. What lessons have been learned from this? You don't want to go. This is the longest war that Israel has had with Hamas, or frankly in the history of Israel, I believe this is the longest war you've had. What have you learned?
Well, we learned, first of all, that we have to be more vigilant. We learned that there are certain kinds of threats that we cannot live with, and that we had to take care of before they actually explode in our faces. We have to do a more comprehensive effort together with partners in the region to try to not only contain the forces of evil and the terrorists, but also do more diplomatically to create solutions for prosperity and stability in the region. To have both security cooperation, economic cooperation, political cooperation, and this is the only way to overcome the radical Islamists, the jihadists. We've been doing a lot in these 2 years to debilitate and put Iran in the corner, to debilitate the proxies of Iran. This gives a lot of room for a huge opening for cooperation. We want to expand the Abraham Accords.
Who do you see potentially next? I was reading something about Indonesia willing to, or at least saying that they are open to.
There are many countries. We won't go into details before this comes to fruition. I think that there are many countries that actually see eye to eye. You could see it very clearly manifesting in the 20 points of the plan. Nobody wants to see Hamas staying in power. Nobody wants to give these terrorists the lead when it comes to the region. So we can do more, and if we do more, I think that the terrorists will have much lesser a chance of disrupting the lives of people in our region, including that of the Palestinians.
All right, Ambassador Azhar, as always, a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us here on CNN News 18.
Thank you.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
We're learning that Supreme Court has begun pronouncing its judgment on the green cracker row. Do remember, we've seen clearly a divide on green crackers, a mix of anticipation, anxiety that's gripped Delhi. Supreme Court hinting that it may allow the sale of green crackers in the city just a week before Diwali, and that pronunciation has begun of the judgment. We're learning that the CGI said we've considered the submissions by Solicitor General and we have to take a balanced approach. Those are the first few comments that are coming in from CGI Gavai. The court is delivering its verdict. Many residents, remember, welcome the prospects of fireworks returning to the skies. They've called it an essential part of festive celebrations. There is another section, like I said, that's expressed concerns that weak enforcement could once again pave the way for regular, more polluting and noisier crackers, and it'll turn the city into a gas chamber and a boombox. Now, do remember, this also coincides very interestingly with the AQI picking up. The AQI in parts of the National Capital Region has crossed 200 and above. And that's a concern that National Capital Region residents are currently staring at. Comes this judgment by the Supreme Court? The verdict is being pronounced as we speak. The verdict essentially is around green crackers and whether they can be sold